Everything always changes when you're homeless. Right now, things are really good. I'm in a safe, warm home, a Christmas tree. You just had Thanksgiving, and you betcha I can't sleep. Can't sleep when you're homeless. At least I have been able to for a lot of 441 nights. So I thought I would talk about, as a leader's family, kind of give you like more of a drop down, unbiased view of like what I really think is going on, and tell you not more about the day to day, but talk more about some family things. Because a lot of you that are gonna be watching this do know my family, and some of you maybe don't. Maybe you could be in another country. I'm getting some attention from Canada and Africa, and it's, I don't know how to say, very inspiring and very touching. The people that never knew me, they're just now finding out about my story of surviving homelessness for 440 days and homelessness for the second time. It's the energy that keeps me going. So with that in mind, I did make some notes here. So I want to talk about the leader of this family, May. So on February 18th, 2023, I just distinguishedly knew right then and there when my dad was crying and painting and lying to me, multitasking, being somewhat very talented about doing that, all three things at one time. I knew right then he was never coming back, and there was no way I could really fully, unless he changed a whole lot, I couldn't really respect him again either. My dad was leader of the family, I think from January 6th to then. What happened during that time? I became homeless. Worked a lot for that, but nothing really good happened with the family during that time. And as a leader of the family now, what does that really mean? Well, can I help anybody right now? I can show you pictures. Nobody else can or will. I can show you my parents' wedding pictures, and I already have. That happened in the early 1980s. I can show you pictures that no one else has, like all four nuclear family members I have. Original nuclear family members that I have, so that way. It was never a question who I was related to. We all knew each other under one roof, like normal people in America, without any state lines, sheriff's deputies, private investigators, night cam from private investigators, and so much other crazy stuff without my mom going to like Saudi Arabia and getting remarried overnight, basically. Before any of that happened, in 1994, we were family, like you and me, or like your family maybe. But it doesn't have to be perfect, this video. It just has to get made, and it has to get published onto YouTube and other platforms. And then it is kind of like, I feel a little more free. And then it's like on there, whether if I die tomorrow with my 16 times higher likelihood of cardiac arrest, just for surviving homelessness for over a year, then it's on there, and it's unlikely that YouTube is going to go away the next year, next 5 years, probably next 10, maybe 20 years. It's unlike, once it's on there, YouTube could always be for sale. They could change their business model. They could take it down. But it is kind of a way, for free, I can immortalize and say the things that descendants of my family. And that's really like my cousins David and Chris. If they were to ever bear children, it's unlikely that they would. My cousin David is married to someone his mother's age. Chris, I don't talk to very much. We've never really talked. We've talked once in this new millennium. He and my brother are the most likely ones to ever bear children. But anyone else ever cares about what was the family like in 2023? Because so much was cared about in the 1990s and all the years before. This matters too. So it just has to get on. I'm not trying to aim for perfection in every video, but I am wanting to tell you these things. I'm the family leader. I'm his guiding light. I'm the one that can tell you, come to me, if you're related to me. I can tell you something along the lines of what Granny may have told you. But a lot of y'all, nobody's done their homework yet. There's been a change in the family leadership going forward. It's no longer going to be Laura. I never heard from her on Thanksgiving until I reached out to her. And just for some other reasons, I've decided that Andy, currently incarcerated, Granny is I'm at number 8. He's our 7th grandchild. Andy is going to be the next leader of the family with my heart quits beating. I think he has already become reformed. And what you're going to expect out of Andy is a much more you're going to get the truth. You're going to get the real deal. And you might not like it. He's probably going to be a lot different out of prison. But I think he's an old soul. I think he knows right from wrong. And I think he ultimately really does love everybody he knows that he's related to. So, my faith is in Andy now. And Laura is number 3. But, leader's family. So, my magical powers is leader's family. Being homeless 440 days, over 1,000 miles from any other known blood relative. Closest one I know might be Joe in Tennessee. Joe, if you're watching this, Christy, your wife, I never talked to you, but I know who you are. Leader's family. Joe's daddy taught him how to work hard. He is probably working hard right now because he works on a farm, last I heard. And I bet you this time of year, there's a lot of work to be done. It's cold. Love you, Joe, and all your family. But I can't really help anybody with a lot of the ways that you want a leader of the family to help. But I am, it's kind of a guiding light. I do have photographs, thousands of them, nobody else has. And I'm one of the only 2 people that can talk to the future leader, Andy. Sure am. Those are some of the ways I can help. I have also already written a letter to our family descendants. And I don't have children and probably never going to have children. But to everyone else who is, carry on. I have already written a letter 250 years into the future. And if you're pregnant or going to be, already have been, you should be doing that too. Or if you're the daddy, for sure. It's a great experience. I wish everyone would do that. But what do I know of extended family? So I want to talk about my mother and father a little bit, and Drew, my brother. Other extended family, what I know, they're not really reporting back to me. John, Uncle John, mom's youngest brother, he sailed right over Denver in the skies to go hunting in Alaska. And I reached out to him this summer. Only heard from the wife, the new one. It's always been the new one to me. Better be the last one. But Aunt Emily's not Aunt Shannon. And there will be to me. But they went to Alaska to go hunting. And they are probably not as wealthy as Uncle Dave, who only grows like North Korea. He can't grow. He can only kind of maintain through bad and illicit ways. Like being a bad landlord, being racist. I know that for sure. Okay. Aunt Nora got divorced right after COVID. She should be a strong ally with me. Traditionally, we've always been really good. Except she needed a home after getting divorced and surviving COVID. Her son just built her one out of his bare hands. Where is that kind of strength and resilience? The proof that I'm loved is just 1 degree away, and it ain't there. So that was said. All right, talk about different extended family that I know about. Angela's daughters, I really miss you guys. Only met you once in my life. It's probably our parents' fault for that. But, you know, you're loved too, so much. Rachel and Miriam, and then my Uncle John's daughter, Rachel. A lot of similarities there. You're some of our youngest millennial generation. Like the only people in my lineup. Y'all are like the babies. I don't think you're loved enough. I can sense that right now. So look at the very youngest, and I look at the oldest. Uncle Dave. you could be helping. You could be helping connect me to Shay, Uncle Bob's oldest daughter, that was never really accepted as part of his family, but Granny believed it. We found out about Shay after Bob died, years after. So, Shay, you're loved. I look for the outliers. I'm not so concerned about Mark Blevins, or Eddie O'Daniels, or even Samuel. On Dad's side, it would be like David Costa or Samantha. You guys have it good. I'm worried about people that don't. People like Kayla Fenton, who was homeless before, probably recently. I don't think she is now. But this is like, Granny's, we have the same great granny. There have been more people than you think or want to believe that have been homeless in my family. This is a family tradition. This family should be like, wow, we are going to do so much better after Nate's not homeless anymore. We're going to make sure nobody's ever homeless. That'll probably be what I'll be working on for the rest of my life if I survive. Gotta write that book. You gotta pay off $76,000 in student loans from the university. Most people can't believe ever being homeless. It already happened to me in 2016. It happened to me again in 2022. I went to the university that I graduated from, in my third week homeless. They threw me away. They threw me off campus because my father went to January 6th when I was already at the Student Health Center receiving first aid and emergency care, like temporary shelter, and just a coordinated plan for like what to do with me. And this student health doctor there, she was a real doctor at the Student Health Center. She saw me on the Good Samaritans Act, and she said the words like, "I can't believe you're homeless. It's awful. You came to the right place. We're gonna see what we can do to get you some help." It was that kind of like, it was the way I could usurp my crazy family and not have to rely on the efficient family of other gay men, strangers I meet along the way, to help keep me safe, warm, and alive. And Elon University, it's the night after Thanksgiving. You guys still have a lot of making up to do, and you always will. Like, it's never going to change. What's right doesn't change. So let's talk about my mother and my brother Andrew a little bit, because there was some change on there. I'll go back to, this is going to be like a 20-minute video, maybe 25, or 13 minutes almost. Contact with my family, my mother, brother, and father. I'll get to dad in a minute, but here's what happened. On September 8th, 2022 was my year anniversary of being homeless. And I had a call with Andrew then, who kind of spoke on behalf of both mom and dad, and he did not say the words, "We love you, we're still praying for you, here's what we think you should do next." He had nothing really to say. 3 weeks later, on September 29th, my brother Andrew turns 33, and I make the video, "The light when all the lights go dark," because I was also kind of just feeling there was going to be some hard videos to see. That was the happy one. That was the one that shows you Nate still got it, Nate still loves you, Nate still leaders his family. Nate can show you something you ain't never seen, which is all four of us in a new picture at one time. When your family's been divorced since 97, divorced, remarried, your dad's my dad, stuff like that. You can't put a price on that. And I did it while homeless. Clear as DVD on digital TV screen. No regrets about that, ever. So mother and my mom and Drew, kind of one and the same, very united, it seems like. No, they haven't told me, like, I'm talking to each other every day. They haven't told me that they're like, best friends or nothing. But I just kind of sense they're kind of saying the same stuff. They are basically gaslighting me. You know what gaslighting means? One of the ways it means is, it's kind of like somebody is trying to put you in a mental state where you question your own mental judgment, or they're telling you things that aren't true, that you know aren't true. My mother's trying to do this really hard, but she's failing on it really bad because she's so far removed from the truth. She's so outdated. And then I try to tell her and show her, like, no, I actually am trying to show you in like 15 different ways how much I love you. And she just won't get it. She refuses to believe what's already happened. But she'll say things like, "You're homeless because you want to be." She probably, the only way I can infer from that in a logistical way, is that I left my dad's house in 2023 to come back to Denver, where there was no water at my dad's house, a lot of messed up things, a lot of things that were missing, a lot of new things that didn't make sense. And there was no future or hope there. There was no communication either. Like no cell phone service. There was no transportation beyond my brother's bicycle that he had in his youth. That was also like the SUV my dad's driving now, paid for by my first stepdad, who I heard from recently, still love. I also heard from my dad's girlfriend in 20 years, still love her too. So it's like, I got support in places you might not think. And the family that's known me for 32 years, I hear from almost all the time. They're unanimously always with me in prayer, in spirit throughout the day, when I need them at a moment's notice. Undeniably, this right doesn't change, and they know that. But my mother is kind of like trying to make me feel bad. She laughed at me because I was still homeless 2 days ago. But she also laughed at me when I was bullied for being gay in high school. So you have to understand who she has been distinctly since the Minnesota bridge collapse of 2007, when she worried herself to death. Probably it was the 10-year anniversary of her getting divorced from my dad. I think she was just kind of like caught up in the wind of, I shouldn't have done that. My brother was with my dad. She knew they were going out west or in that direction. They went to Chicago. They never went to Minnesota, but she was so wound up about that. When that was over and he came back, she became a new woman for the bad. And you remember of my 1994 mother were pretty much gone. Didn't see much of her at all. Last time I really feel like I saw a genuine mother would have been 2008 when she drove me to the Raleigh airport. She wanted me to have such a good time studying abroad. There's a picture of her in the airport where she's kind of glowing, just us standing next to some poinsettias. I'll probably share it this Christmas, so the world remembers. But that was the last time I can really recall my mother being the right kind of mom. When I got back from studying abroad, she was really happy that I went on that trip at the beginning. When I got back about a week later, this is like February 2008, so I was only studying abroad for about a month. When I got back, my job for college was at a restaurant. It closed due to an embezzlement scheme. And I called my mom and I said, "Mom, the restaurant closed. I spent all my money studying abroad." Her response then was, "You can take your ass to the welfare office," and hung up. So it didn't take long or whatever. That changed around my mom, 2007, 2008, just kind of like when she took off. Woo, like in a big way. She went around the world. She got divorced, remarried. She tried to kill me. She got divorced and remarried like overnight to a stranger, not from this country. And I still don't know who my step-siblings are. Can't talk to Richard either. It's not like, you can't just put me in a box or an AA meeting and be like, "I know this serenity prayer. We can accept things we cannot change, but we can sure talk about them." It's First Amendment. So they're gaslighting me. They're trying to act like I don't have any personal responsibility and this doesn't affect me, and this is just kind of like your problem that you're homeless. And my mom's like telling me all this stuff and laughing at me, and then she's like, "Don't text me anymore." And I'm like, "I'm trying to tell you I love you. I'm coming at you in a peaceful way, trying to share this good video of you about Uncle Russell." If anybody remembers COUNTRYSTAR's giving thanks for the country, it was just kind of my remembering upbringing of being at Granny's, and another character that was there, my Uncle Russell, great Uncle Russell. Anyway, I did a personal shout out to Mom at the beginning of the video. She can't handle it. She can't handle genuine love. That's who she is now. My brother is kind of like, I don't feel like my brother ever really learned right from wrong or how to love and what's going to happen down the road. Wrong usually wins, and that happens, I think he is kind of like holding on to my mom. She's sinking like the Titanic, but it still feels good to, he's 33, but he's the baby, and she's been the stronger one between my mom and my dad as far as wealth and just general security. what she says today still has an influence on him, and he's kind of following her lead still. Now, it hasn't always quite been that way. When I first became homeless, like that first week, and I was in Wilkesboro, North Carolina, which is also kind of like the place where my dad bore his career. It was just kind of like the most inspiration point, and it's still very much the center point focus for some of his deepest work. And it's just, I didn't want to be there when I was homeless. My goal was to be in High Point, a different part of North Carolina, but that's just where I had to end up. It was just very thorough, having to be right there in Wilkesboro. But when I was there, I called my brother right away, and I said, Drew, why don't we go to Alaska? I mean, not Alaska, Hawaii. I was like, me and you don't have passports right now, but the family has money, and I need a place to live, and it would just be like a rebirth. It would just be kind of like, let's just go to Hawaii as soon as we can. And he was for that. He kind of recognized that idea. That Drew is not here anymore. Drew was gone really quickly because my third week homeless, right after I was banned from Elon University, they took me to the train station, so they did drive me to the train station. But then I had to choose right then and there. Like, I couldn't stay at the train station for very long. Was I going to go to Raleigh or Charlotte? I picked Charlotte because my brother lived there. I wasn't planning on being a part of his life a whole lot, but I did need to have HIV medications sent to me, and a friend in Denver had already picked him up and was waiting for me. See, I was leaving Denver, going to North Carolina, did get there, and then, plans changed because they just had to. I was ghosted on by the friend I was coming to live with, a friend that I'd known for 6 years. So when I was scrambling and on this train to Charlotte, I told my brother, hey, I need HIV medication sent. Can I have him pick them up at your house? And he said, no. So that is the history he will be remembered for when I write my book. Also, he drove away from me when I was homeless in 2016. And he didn't think he still, to this day, doesn't think there was anything wrong with that. If you are a brother and you have one that's homeless, you don't do that. Most people kind of know that. He doesn't. Drew's kind of following in my mother's footsteps, so he's not really able to care about me in a humane way. So it lights up a whole lot of red flags, and I'm wondering, not where my dad's penis has been, just that, but where's Drew's? As where you're his family, you have to think about that. And I am. I know where mine's been. Has it created any more children? Hasn't created a child. Probably ain't going to. So, I'm trying to love my brother and my mother the most right now. It's Christmas time, but beyond that, I've had a lot of reflection, and I know my likelihood of dying. I want them to know their love, or they can imagine. But it's hard. The man of my dreams has a brother. The last time I saw him, the man of my dreams, he said, he just let me know. I'm trying to be discreet about who that individual is, the man of my dreams. But he let me know he had a brother and that he missed him, and he was in dear pain, and that he loved him and always will. And I get that, and I learn from the best. But that. Ooh. So, the only communication I've had with my dad since he left me in that house with no water, we did have a real big fight because I was basically like, who is this 7-year-old boy that you are going to sleepovers with, and he's texting you love you kisses? I need to talk to his mother right now. And he was like, that's not possible. And I was like, well, she ain't Goldie Hawn. Get her on the phone. And then I was like, where's the father? And he was like, you'll never know the answer to that, or something like that, is what he said. And I was like, bullshit. That's some bullshit right there. Hopefully somebody at McDowell County Schools is watching this video and is like, you know what, that is some bullshit. You guys should care. His artwork is in all y'all schools. Y'all should be the ones that lead the county, which also has his work everywhere. McDowell County Schools, you have like this great opportunity for you to just win right now, the slam dunk, and be like, we are going to take the lead on this. We are going to find out what is going on with my dad and this 8-year-old boy. He's 8 years old now. His name's David. He's probably in Raleigh County. That's about all I know. Immigrant family from Ukraine. And my dad is extremely sketchy on any other information. this is cause for concern. But beyond that, the only communication I've had with my dad since he left me in that house. There was a time in like May or June when I was in Denver, and I got a message from a Tom Acosta on Facebook. Wasn't my dad's legacy profile, because I was also working with my dad for 8 years, social media, growing his business. I know my dad's Facebook profile. It wasn't that one. He didn't have a picture, and this individual was talking to me in a way my dad doesn't normally talk to me, and he wasn't able to answer or respond to me. I believe it's a fake profile. This is new information I'm unveiling for the very first time. There's probably a fake profile of my dad on Facebook. Sure is. There's also a flaming hot chance. I mean, my high suspicion, somebody is actually taking over my dad's estate. There was an SUV that was not a free SUV, because my dad has 3 of those. There was another SUV in addition to the Subaru that was supposed to be mine, but needed $3,500 in repairs. See, like, being in West Virginia was never going to be the solution to homelessness. There was only more pain and questions there. I'm so thankful to God I got back to Denver for so many reasons. But there was an SUV that was locked and we could not use. It was belonging to another man, someone he graduated from high school with. He lives in North Carolina. This man did give me a lot of money when I first became homeless, and I used that to get to Elon, and I used it in the hotels, my first part of being homeless. I wish that I had used that money to just upgrade my phone. It wasn't enough to really accrue housing or cheap housing, but it was like, this man was being extremely benevolent to me. Like the most number one donor still. He gave me like $500 or $600. And I thought that was extremely suspicious. Like, why? Because I don't think if I've ever met him, it was like maybe one time. But his SUV being in my dad's house, and he hadn't been there in months, was a clear signal to me that he's almost marketing the territory. And my dad said, this house is for sale, but the mortgage is all paid up for the very first time ever. God, there were so many red flags. My dad said he didn't have a bank account, and just didn't have a use for it anymore. Can't tell me anything about this boy's family that he's having sleepovers and pillow fights with. I mean, you take out the fact you don't like me or Nate's crazy, but you like listen to these words I'm saying. I'm telling you, there's some bullshit here. So there's a fake profile of me now on Facebook. There's something else. I mean, there's something. My dad ain't been right for a long time, and right now is like, people need to start caring, because I know you care about my dad, so you need to like be checking out what the fuck he's doing. I want to end this video, we're almost at 30 minutes, by talking about another great leader's family, almost kind of an echo from the grave. Uncle Mike, his older brother. George was the oldest, died in the 90s, but Uncle Mike died while I was in a hospital after I had just left McDowell County. Uncle Mike and I is the only uncle I ever knew, really. I met Uncle George. I met Uncle Bob when I was 4. Uncle Mike was the only uncle I've had a real relationship with. When I broke down, when I first moved to West Virginia in 2012, I walked back to Uncle Mike's house. He gave me a plate of food. His wife was cooking it, and he was just like, Nate, I'm glad you're here. You're going to be all right. Don't worry about being broke down. He gave me that. So he was very proud to be my uncle and have a chance to. And my Uncle Mike was not always a great person. Uncle Mike, though, was very consistent. And when me and my Uncle Mike were buying crack cocaine, he would be telling me things like, you know, this ain't right. We shouldn't be doing this, but right now I just need it. Your dad ain't a perfect person either, Nathan. And he was just, it was at the time, I was in my mid-20s, and he was kind of like, you know, you ain't kid no more. Uncle Mike loved me the best he could. He gave me everything he could. I want to tell you, the hardest I've ever worked in my life physically, physical labor, was working with my dad, Uncle Mike, I think in like 2017 in Hinton at that funeral home. You go across the bridge. They've already replaced the work that we did then, but my Uncle Mike was whipping laps around us. He was the fastest up and down that ladder, just all the kind of work we were doing. And I like, He was also a roofer, but he was older enough, and he was older than my dad. And he was just, I was tired, sunburnt, tore up, bad mood. My Uncle Mike was like going like Energizer Bunny, and he was just getting that work done. And it's one of my favorite memories of the Costas of all time. He ain't here no more. My dad blocked me from trying to say goodbye to Uncle Mike because he was in hospice when I was in West Virginia in 2023. He wanted to talk to me. I know. I was at the cabin in Summers County, that weird place that I had never been. My dad had found refuge there after abandoning his house in April of 2022, so 10 months earlier. So I'm saying it right with my dad. But Uncle Mike, I could hear him on the phone, and he was like, just that, when your phone's up to you, but someone's kind of talking loud, I could kind of hear him saying, y'all come, I want to talk to Nathan. And my dad made sure, I told my dad too, I was like, I want to talk to Michael. And he said, we'll go tomorrow. We never went. We couldn't get the SUV my first stepdad paid for off the mountain. We had to siphon gas from the other free SUV when it came from his ex-girlfriend. So sad, but Uncle Mike, I want to tell you this. In 2014, before we ever bought drugs, one of the last things I ever did, my hometown Mount Airy, was I was with Uncle Mike at the Autumn Leaves Festival, and we were ones selling those prints. They're the very last ones of the Our Town collection of the 1990s. Were there, and that portrait of Uncle Mike that is hanging at Senator Manchin's office, or was, we gave it to him in 2017. I'm pretty sure Senator Manchin still has it for free. But it was me and the real Uncle Mike and that painting of him, and we were having a good time, just sitting there. We hadn't lived in Mount Airy in a long, long time, but we were just sitting there seeing people we hadn't seen in a long time and talking, and it was like 2-3 days of that. It was great, great memory. So Uncle Mike, the longer time goes on, even though he did have a direct role in making me homeless the first time, the way that happened, it was Thanksgiving Day. There was cash on the kitchen table. My dad and I were going to use that money like the next day or something to buy postage for the Christmas card we were sending out for his business. Cash went missing. Mysteriously, Uncle Mike did too. I knew he was buying crack cocaine, and so did my dad. And I was like, this has to stop. And my dad, so I was like, it's either me or him. One of us has to go. And my dad also believed that my Uncle Mike was sick. Uncle Mike was physically ill from doing so many drugs all his life, and there were good days and bad days. And at that time, he wasn't doing too good. He was, having trouble up steps and stuff. So he was like, you go. And then he took my phone and he physically expelled me from the house. And I saw Uncle Mike smoke a cigarette outside as I left, and he was just kind of like old cat, just kind of like lapping up, winning the victory, and be like, you're gone. Like, I wanted you gone, and you're gone. So Uncle Mike was not a good person all the time. But the longer this goes on, I realize and see how, I already knew this a long time ago, but Uncle Mike was the only person that could really challenge or stand up to or ever overthrow my dad on decisions. And when he died, I mean, that was about the time I saw my dad for the last time, and then Uncle Mike died about 2 weeks after that. And now my dad is just like, he's a hog wild hater on the loose. We need to be finding out what's going on with my dad. Whether I'm in the picture or not, it's important. There's something going on with a 7 or 8 year old boy. Guarantee it. Guarantee you're gonna find something and be like, oh shit, Nate was always warning us. And I tell you right now. But I see Uncle Mike, I have more admiration for him right now than I do anything else. I miss him. And right before this video, I was trying to sleep. I just kind of hear him saying, go ahead, get this out, Nate. Go do it. I do it when things come to the front of my heart and it's just kind of bubbling up top and it won't stop. Yep. So I miss Uncle Mike. Dave and Chris, your dad loves you. I think he still loves you, Teresa. We had a good connection. I think my relationship I had with Uncle Mike was special. I miss him very much. I wish he was still around. I think that he wanted to tell me what was going on with my dad. My dad was absolutely certain to make sure that wouldn't happen. And the rest of you in the family that know him, where are you now? Where's your soul? I'm the leader of his family. And you could be doing more. For sure. Hope this video has been good to watch. Take care of yourself and each other, like Terry Springer. One more Uncle Mike story. So, the night his father-in-law died, Uncle Oscar was caretaker of Bradshaw Mountain, the tallest mountain in McDowell County, West Virginia. Home place that my great-grandfather steaded, and where Oscar was going to be buried, pretty much across the street from his house. Right down the road from my Uncle Mike's ex-wife, Teresa, his daughter, which is why I know Uncle Mike still loves you, Teresa. Or did his last breath. But when Uncle Oscar died, what I'm trying to say here is, you know, I've got a lot of memories of Bradshaw Mountain. I've never really lived there. It's just where Granny lived. And everybody else, her sisters, a lot of family. I'm always just kind of a come and goer. Might never come and go there again if I die. Who in the family is going to take me there from Denver? I die tomorrow. Think about that. But about Uncle Mike. So when Oscar died, Uncle Mike was living in Wyoming County. I was in Kimball at the time. Uncle Mike called me. He said, Oscar died. Hey, you get me up here. You get me up here right now. So sometimes when I've been to go into Bradshaw Mountain, it is like a fly-by-night speed of the wind. It is like you get there now. You get us to home. Just a home to both sides of my family. And Michael was like, get me up here right now, Nate. See it drive. I did. And I was like, for sure. We flew up here to Bradshaw Mountain. I think we got up there about the time the sun was coming up. He was determined to get there as fast as he could. Because he was going to help dig the grave as soon as he could. And he did. I want people to know that.